All right, Paranormal Activity, the marked ones. Oh, hologram cover. This is the unrated cut, and it is 16 minutes longer than the theatrical. That's a big chunk, man. So, yet again, I don't really remember what's new here as opposed to what isn't. I know, like in this one, he goes and buys the camera from the pawn shop. We don't get to see that in the theatrical version, but I don't remember what the rest is. Now, this one was the one that was written and directed by Christopher Landon, who wrote part 2, 3, and 4, but he actually wrote and directed this one. He most recently then directed and wrote Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse and Happy Death Day. So he's had a few other horror hits after this one. Now, this is one that I feel like is kind of a split because some people really like it and some people really hate it. I am very much of the former. I think this is easily my favorite one. Like, in rewatching all of these, I remember, like, before I sat down to watch all of these, my memory was that I really liked 3 and this, which I consider the 5th one, the most. And as I said, upon rewatching all of these, the marked ones is just easily my favorite because A, the most happens by far. B, because freaking the most questions are answered in this movie. Yes, more are posed, like all of them, but I feel like we get a really good amount of questions answered here. C, I really like the ending. I know maybe a lot of people would be against that because they feel like it fucks with the ambiguity of the first one. And D, I just really like all the characters, especially Hector, the friend. He just makes me laugh. So, all right, so let's get into this. Now, being a horror fan for so long, I've noticed that one of the communities that supports horror the most, if not the most, of anyone that I've seen is the Spanish community. I mean, you know, in all the times that I've ever went out to horror films in the theaters, or if I'm going to Redbox to rent stuff or the movie, I always see Mexican people, Spanish people just piling up in there. There's such a huge following in the Mexican community. And like when I have a bunch of horror tattoos, and you know, the majority of people who notice my tattoos and point them out are Mexicans, Spanish people. It's crazy. It's especially like little kids too, like 5-year-olds, 8-year-olds will be like, Jason, Freddy, like they just, I don't know. It's awesome. So I think this is really smart to make one that, you know, catered to them. That was fucking smart, and I think they should do that more often. And I have to say, watching this movie and watching a lot of Spanish movies over the years, I am pretty jealous of how family-oriented they seem to be. I mean, of course, I'm not going to try to be too generalized here, but for the most part, in the experiences I've had, they're just super, super family-oriented, and it looks just wonderful, because I didn't have that in the slightest, and I just watching this, I'm like, oh man, that would be so great. And as I said, I just think Hector is just hilarious in this movie. There's so many great lines. What do you think, you're Sherlock Holmes? Well, Sherlock Holmes. Like, he's so good. He's so funny. I love that they get the grandma drunk and she starts singing, and that's a funny-ass scene. We get Anna, the scary-ass neighbor lady downstairs, and they, like, take the Hidema cables. God, so many good lines in this. And they bring it down, which is a super invasion of privacy, but these are kids, they're idiots. And they look down, there's this hot naked chick, and then there's this contrast of Anna's ugly ass coming naked and painting the symbol on the girl's stomach, and Hector being like, oh my God, dude, this chick's so fine, this is the greatest day of my life. And the grandma walks in, and she's like, whoa, no. I'm sorry, this movie's fucking fantastic. I love this movie. I really enjoyed watching it again here. The firecracker scene, the way that whole scene plays out is awesome. They go to light the firecracker, it won't go off, you think it's gonna go off, and then, you know, freaking that kid jumps down onto the trash can, and then he's running away, and then the thing blows up behind them. It's a great sequence of just misdirects and things happening that you're not expecting. Good stuff. Now, people attribute that and immediately call it jump scares. And while I can agree, I don't feel like they're cheap. I know people will disagree with me on this. Like, not everybody, but I know a lot of people will. But because there's no music of any sort, that also adds to it. But it's just good tension building with, yes, there's loud bangs and crashes, so it is a cheap jump scare, kind of. But I don't know. I feel like the scenes are really well set up and well executed. And because there isn't like loud music being like, and all this crap, it works. I think these are the jump scares that really work because they add to it. They're not just there, and they're none of them, like the majority of them are not fake outs either. Like, those are the things that you're supposed to be afraid of. So, I don't know. I feel like the jump scares in this one, for the most part, are all justified and work well. And Oscar, the kid who jumps on the trash can and runs off. I mean, this is a sad story with him, and with our main lead here as well. But this kid just graduated valedictorian, and his life is now falling apart. He's wanted for murder, and he ends up killing himself. And he tells Jesse that he's going to start hurting people that he loves, unless, and the only way out is to end your own life, because you only have a small window for where you are able to have any kind of control over yourself. And you got to take that moment, and how many people really want to kill themselves? They're going to always try to find a way out of it, or be in denial or whatever. And Oscar, I mean, I guess he's smart, right? He's a valedictorian, so he's smart enough to end his life before he hurts anybody, which is way more easier said than done, obviously. And this just shows how dumb they are and why they're not valedictorians. But Hector and Jesse go into Anna's house, which is still an active crime scene, without any gloves, and start touching everything in the house. Oh yeah, that's smart, dumb fucks. We see that Anna has the tapes in her house that are missing from part 3 and are the ones that were shown to us in theaters. How did we see them if Anna had them? But that at least, gives us, it doesn't confirm that Anna stole them. They're at least being stored at her house. So we know where they went at the very least. And I'm guessing the necklace might be there as well. I don't know. And the church scene's really good. They put down the black mirror and they say the seance around. Like, just don't do that. Like, just don't do that. That's just stupid. Don't be putting black mirrors and saying fucking demonic shit in a abandoned church. Like, that's just dumb. Okay, I don't believe in anything, but I'm not dumb enough to do something like that. But then they go, you don't want to tempt things like that. Like, I don't want to be wrong. Okay. But, yeah, they go and they look under the stall and there's nothing. And then the door starts rattling and they run out. It's just a really effective scene. I think that the scares in this movie are really, really well done. And then we get the Simon game that's talking to them and saying yes and no. And I like how that plays out. I like how it's like, are you good? And it won't answer. He asks it twice. And then it's like, later in the movie, leave me alone. And it just like holds down on the fucking no, like, no, I am not leaving you alone. So taking a game like Simon and somehow making it creepy within a film is a tough task. And I feel like it's pulled off here. And much like any grandma, like especially as a Mexican grandma like this, she sees that this is happening and she's just like grabbing, no me gusta, like she is not having it. I love how superstitious she is instantly. That's so true. And she ends up being absolutely right. Now, he is marked with the bite, like Katie and Christy were. But he doesn't change instantly. Like, he's still able to keep control of himself better. I don't know if that's because he's male, because he was born into this, whatever. But when Christy or Katie were bitten by whatever, Toby, who knows, they are instantly different. Like, Katie's like telling Mika, no, I don't want to go anywhere. We're fine. We're good here. And then she has like 2 different voices. And then when Christy's bitten, she's acting weird. She's, you know, hovering over her baby and attacking her husband and everything. So he ends up having a blast. Like, he's going, he's falling backwards, and he's beating up freaking guys that are trying to rob him, and he's going to parties and drinking and trying to get laid by these chicks. And so he has control over himself for a while. Then, of course, he starts to lose it later when he's in the market or whatever, and he runs into that guy, and he's pushing on him, and then grabs the baseball bat from the cashier and fights back against them. So it takes a little longer for this seems to set in here. So when they get attacked by those guys that are trying to rob them, though, and they run off after he beats the fuck out of them, like throws them like he has superpowers, like Superman or something. He's like, all right, let's get the bike. And Hector's like, fuck the bikes, let's go. Fuck the bikes. Like, these guys are on the ground. Like, the bike's right there. Why would you not grab it? Like, you're just going to get your bike stolen for no reason. Like, the reason you just push back against them, and the reason that, you know, they were saying, no, you can't look at my backpack, is they don't want to be robbed. But they're going to let their stuff go when they've thwarted off the attack. It doesn't make any sense. He's just scared. I get it. And the one scene that's a little silly to me is when he's skateboarding and he jumps over Hector and grinds down the rails. I think that probably could have been cut out. That was just too much. It was too hokey. I know that's like splitting hairs by saying like him being able to fall back and being caught and being able to blow up the air. Even that one, the blowing up the air mattress, I think you could have cut that out as well. I think he could have had more like physical powers as opposed to like, you only have so much air in your lungs. So even if you're uber strong, blowing up an air mattress, it's not the power of your lungs that blows it up and expands it. It's the oxygen that you're pushing in there. So unless his lungs can all of a sudden take in 100 times more oxygen than ever before, that really doesn't make all that much sense. It doesn't prove that he's strong. It doesn't prove anything. It's an impossibility. So I don't know. Those things were kind of silly. I think that they could have played off of more physical strength. I think he could have been bending things or whatever, but maybe they were afraid that would look too superhero-y, but him flying over his friend on a skateboard also does. It makes him look like he can fly almost. So I don't know. I feel like they could have done that better. That was just a little over the top in that instance. But of course the movie ends up going really over the top, and those things I do like, and I'll get to those in a minute. And the Oscar's suicide, that whole part's great too. Like, he's down in the basement, he cock blocks, you know, Jesse trying to get laid by this chick, and he tells him that the only way to defeat it is to kill yourself. And we see like these little bug things under his skin. Questions like, what is that? What are those? Can you explain that? That ever going to be explained? No. Oh, fuck. Okay. Like, what is that? Like, that's not even necessary. That's just there for creepy effect, but that just asks another question that you'll never answer. So that's kind of annoying to me. But then he runs away and he's looking for him and he's outside, and then he just like hits the car as he's like, who? Oscar, boom. That's a great scene as well. That's what I'm talking about. You kind of, there's give and takes here, but majority of it I really, really like a lot. We get to see the grandma from part 3. in this, in the pictures, and she's in 1994. This is a year after those 1993 tapes, and these women are pregnant with Jesse. The hair in the eye, he pulls it out. Another thing, it kind of felt like a Japanese, J-horror kind of thing, like the Grudge or something. What is that? Is that Toby coming into fruition? I don't know what the fuck that is. More questions, no answers. We get to see Katie and Christy's ghosts here. What that means, they're still alive later, so how are we seeing their spirits when they're kids? Did they travel in time? Because there is time distortion within this movie, so in that moment, are they actually physically there and they've traveled in time? Or I don't understand that, so I'm kind of lost on that one. More questions, because they didn't die at that age, so are they able to kind of morph in? And to our knowledge, Katie is still alive at this point, so who knows? So many questions. And the fact that Allie comes back from 2 and tells them about it, and she's like, look, 666 makes 18, and that's when this is happening. I love to see Allie in this. It's awesome. Why he takes her number off of the door makes no sense. He's filming it. He does it behind this gangbanger's back. The gangbanger he's fucking afraid of. He grabs it. And he knows he's not supposed to be doing it, but you just filmed it. Although Hector is an idiot. I just am like, why'd you grab the number? You just watch the fucking footage back, you dumb shit. And yeah, I mean, they say it she says it. Once you're in the once the ritual has been performed, then, you start acting normal again, but you're not you anymore. Toby will be in you, or whatever demon that be able to come in. Because what we find out in this one is that's their vessels for someone, one of the demons, like Toby or whatever, to possess their bodies and become them. And so that they can be back in society. For what reason? I don't know. They're building up a witch army to bring all these demons into the world. I don't know. Fucking world domination, I'm sure. The scene where he's pinning the dog to the ceiling, man, that's another rough one. That reminds me of the dog in part 2. Ugh, that was tough, man. That poor dog's whispering out. One of my favorite scenes in the whole movie is when Jesse just warps into the room, all the surroundings start to bend and morph and then he just blinks into existence and he screams and everything blows up. That was fucking awesome in the theater. I'm sorry, that shit was cool. Is it way out there and way beyond the first one? The first one was so subtle and this one's so in your face, but this is the progression. They have to get more and more and more, and this one just has the most fun with it and really goes for broke with it. And I love that scene. And then we see that his grandma's trying to cure him, and it seems to have been semi-successful. She is doing the egg over him, and it's filled up with blood, and then he smashes it, and then she's putting him in bed and trying to take care of him, and he gets out of bed and pushes her down the fucking stairs, and we're led to believe she did die. So maybe she did. Maybe she was kind of pushing it off. We see in 2 that just some olive oil and a cross will bring the demon out of somebody. So she seems to understand that as well. I guess they're going to the same place. The car scene is really good. I like how that all plays out. Jesse's at the end of the street, then he's closer, then he's gone, then he's by the window, breaks through, pulls him through. She comes out and clubs him over the head with an aluminum bat. Then they go, and Jesse gets taken. They smash into the car. That's a good scene. And they go and pick up the gangbangers to come help them. They go to the house from part 3, the grandmother's house in Moon Park, California. And then they have the gangsters there with them with shotguns and freaking Uzis, and we get to see witches running at them with knives, and this Mexican gangster dude just turn around and blasting them with a shotgun. How can you not love that fucking scene? It's hilarious. It's awesome. It's great. There's witches around every corner. They have knives. There's chasing after Hector. He's trying to run this way. He's trying to run that way. Jesse's chasing him up the stairs. He gets in there. He's behind the door. Let him in. He smashes through the door. He jumps through the time portal. And then we go into Katie's house, Katie and Mika's house, and we find out what Katie was screaming about and what Mika was doing and how he died and all. I'm sorry. The ending's fucking awesome. Seriously? Maybe it's just too over the top for people. They don't like the explanation. I don't know. I just thought this was the shit, man. Such a great ending. And another thing I think no one would ever take into consideration here is that this house had to be completely redressed. I doubt that the director still had the house exactly the same from the first movie, so they had to bring Katie's beating table back, and who knows how many alterations have been made to the house at that point. Maybe somebody else owned it, because I don't think he does anymore, and I've been to the house. So they had to make it look exactly like it, so they probably redressed this entire house, well, at least in the living room and in the kitchen and the, you know, whatever the hell. But yeah, like, that won't ever get any credit. Like, people probably spent a lot of time matching it exactly to the first movie, and it's just a quick little scene, and people are like, nah, I didn't like it. And it's like, there's a lot of work that goes into this stuff. That doesn't mean you have to like it, but to just completely throw it away, I don't know. I just don't think things like that get enough credit. I love continuity. I love that they went to that extent to bring it back and to make it feel exactly like that night. Awesome stuff. So yeah, as I said, I am a big fan of this one. This one also has like 16 minutes of extra footage in it, or something like that. No, like 10 minutes or something of like extra found footage. I watched some of it, but I did not watch all of it. But anyway, guys, all right, the marked ones. Anyone else a really big fan of this one? His favorite in the series for anyone? All right, I am going to go watch The Ghost Dimension.